Hello, everyone. My name is Maureen McDowell. I am the founder and executive director of Keep St. Pete Lit. We are a local literary arts organization based out of St. Petersburg, Florida. And this is episode 20 of Typewriter Talks. And Typewriter Talks is a weekly series. I know, right? 20. Whoo! A weekly series where we showcase local authors and kind of get inside their brains. And today we have Michael Novella. Did I say your name right?
You did. Michael Scott Novella. Yep.
Woo. He is the author of It's 5 a.m. Go Home, a memoir slash entrepreneurial book. And he has two more books in the queue. How about that?
In the
So
queue?
tell us, yeah. So tell us what you're working on right now.
Okay. What I'm working on right now is two different books. One is called World's Favorite Words. And I started writing that, I think it's 2017. I was in Machu Picchu. And I had been hiking the mountain and was back in my apartment, hotel, whatever, and reading the Devil's Dictionary.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I've not heard of that, but I might have it on my bookshelf. I might actually have it on my bookshelf, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, for you as a literary,
I feel like it's something my mother gave my daughter when she was in 5th grade. And I'm like, what are you doing giving her the Devil's Dictionary? But go ahead, keep talking.
Right. And it has not, it's funny, it has nothing, it's all satirical. Ambrose Bryce, I think is the author in the mid 1800s. And it was like every letter he would define a couple words, but instead of attorney with the normal definition, he would create a very funny, satirical, dark sort of definition. So I always enjoyed that. I'm thinking, when you travel, and if you're like me, sadly, I only speak English and very malo Espanol, you come across a word and what might be the most important or favorite way to say something like hello. So ciao, in my opinion, is the world's favorite way to say hello or goodbye. And so I created categories, one for food, one for things to do, one for places and modes of travel. And this is the illustrated guidebook for travelers. It's called World's Favorite Words. That's probably about 75% completed.
That's exciting. So you're an entrepreneur. You own Nova 535, correct? And so how do you fit your writing time in with your entrepreneurial side?
Well, I like being productive. I always have. I started mowing lawns when I was an 11-year-old kid, just a ton of energy. And, I wanted the computer and Dad was like, first can of gas on me, go earn your own keep.
Yeah.
Which is the best gift ever. You hated it at the moment, but then years later, you're like, oh, thank goodness. So I like working, and I'm single, no wife, no kids, no family, no braces, no, driving kids to soccer practice. So I have a lot of extra time, and I don't really have any hobbies other than traveling, staying in shape. And so I really enjoy writing and being productive.
So how did It's 5 a.m. Go Home? How did that come about, the idea for that book?
Okay, so I joined a business accelerator group called Key Person of Influence. It was when I was hosting the Entrepreneur Social Club, which we founded in 2009. Daniel Priestley, who's the author of Entrepreneur Revolution and Key Person of Influence, his book was about 5 P's: pitching, product, partnership, and a couple other P's. And so they had created a 9-month class. And the class itself was teaching you how to pitch whatever your business or service was, because you get what you ask for. So be very clear in your pitch. And then the second part of it was printing, or publishing. So I was supposed to publish a book. And at the end of the 9 months, I was still lost because I had lost a first business after 20 years due to the great crash. So I was still kind of unsure of where I was going with business, because after 20 years of building an apartment community, that imploded. So I was a little kind of spun around. So I wasn't able to finish the book in the 9 months. It ended up taking 5 years. But what I did along the way is, I talked to a lot of writers and they say, you got to find your voice. Where's your voice? What's your voice? And I'm like, okay, I was going to name the book Let's Party or Party Time or something. And they're like, no, you need to dig deeper, like dig deeper. When is the point when you really, really feel at home and you're the happiest inside of this business? I'm like, well, literally when I've thrown the party so good, it's literally 5 a.m. and I'm telling people, we got to get out of here. You got to go home. The cleaning crew's coming. So that, was the voice of it's 5 a.m. go home.
So did you write this book to have a platform for your entrepreneurial side, or did you write this to kind of help other entrepreneurs? Because I know I did the Speaker Academy with it's not Toastmasters, National Speakers Association, and a lot of writer speakers, public speakers, will have a book as kind of the part of their platform, because you create all these touchstones. Was that the goal when you wrote this, or was it you wanting to help people, or both?
Yeah, kind of all the above, but certainly once you publish a book, and now it's easier than ever. I mean, you still have to write something that people want to read and get it out there, and the marketing and promotion side is as hard as the writing and publishing side. But I love helping people. I love solving problems. I love making things better, because I realize that if you're better off, even if I don't like you, but you're better off, everything around you is better off. So that makes me better off. So always want to be helpful. But certainly being a published author gives you online credibility, and so that was certainly part of it. So it's advertising for Nova. I captured a lot of funny stuff that happened in the 70s, 80s, and 90s growing up here. So it's kind of a thank you to a lot of my friends and, second and third moms and dads who took care of me, and, stories that before the internet and before smartphones that may be forgotten. So it was all part of that. And to get a writing career up and penning.
Okay. And so if somebody wanted to take, an entrepreneur wanted to take this nonfiction route and write a book, what kind of recommendations would you have for them?
First thing is what are you writing about? Why are you writing? What is your voice? What are you trying to say? But really more importantly is just start typing or dictating, whatever you're going to do is just get it out. That's what they said in KPI. Get it out. Type every day, whatever your natural biorhythm is, whether you wake up and work or afternoon or evening or whatever, but just get it out, type. Don't worry about editing. Don't overthink it. Just like literally throw it up.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that it's kind of keeping the wheels greased, and
right.
It's any relationship. If you don't show up for your writing, why would your writing show up for you?
Exactly. Right. And same with exercise and eating well, it's a daily process. And once you find it, it's fun. I mean, for me, but I'm building stuff around things that I've done. So I'm not writing nonfiction, which is mostly what I read, science fiction. Maybe I'll take a stab at it someday, but I consider some of those people the real writers. I'm still here.
And writers.
Yeah. I read like Murakami or people who just blow my mind, and I'm thinking, wow, maybe someday I can get even at the bottom of that bubble of where they exist. They're just so talented.
So tell us about like what you're reading right now, and who are some of your favorite authors? Because I know you're a big reader.
I am, and honestly, I have to check my Kindle because I read so much that sometimes I don't even know. I just finished a book called Game Changer, and the author's name was odd, and so I couldn't tell man or woman, because historically, okay, who wrote this?
Gender neutral.
It's a female gender. She identifies as a they,
Non-binary.
and yeah, non-binary, and it's called Game Changer, and it's really good. I don't know. I have to look. All the new sci-fi. I am reading Red Wolf.
He went into the abyss.
Yeah, Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James.
Screens.
Yeah, Marlon James.
Uh-huh.
Black Leopard, Red Wolf. I grabbed
Oh
that.
yeah, that book is supposed to be really good. It's on my to be. It's a beautiful cover. I'm always drawn to cover art. My friend and I will go to Book and Bottle, and he'll show up with a beautiful book, and I'll be like, "Ooh," and he's like, "I know," and we like both touch it and fawn over it. Yeah, that's a beautiful cover.
That's where I got it, actually, Book and Bottle. I was in there pitching to have her carry my book. And, you know, the same thing with the cover. I mean, we designed this, just came out of my brain while I was traveling because, you know, at the end of the night, you know, you've got a cell phone, it's blue, you know, it's kind of the twilighty hours. So that was the idea for the cover here.
And you seem to read on a Kindle, so well, what, is that true? Because that's funny because you would think, how would the cover look on a cell phone?
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
That's a different, it's a different way of thinking. I mean, we have to think about how does your cover translate through different medias now, especially.
Well, and sadly, I mean, if people are reading, it's great no matter how they're reading. I fought getting glasses for a long time, so I was having trouble reading on paper. I mean, I grew up reading paper. I love reading on paper. But Kindle, you know, you hit the word that you don't remember, or you take a notation or you look something up. And my grandmother, my mom's mom, was always, you know, pushing reading. We read, and she made me look everything up. And now, you know, I laugh sometimes. I'm like, Grandma, you know, now you can just push the button, you know, versus having to run to the dictionary, stop what you're reading,
Yeah.
you know, thumb through and, you know, break the flow. So,
I think,
but yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, to answer your question though, it's almost a mobile first, just like with websites now, because everything is on your phone and that's not changing until it goes, you know, until it's glasses or a chip in your head. And so I mean, that's the path, you know.
That's your science fiction mind. Yeah.
Yeah, the glasses are really next, but that projected digital image is where that's how people buy it.
Yeah.
It's a vending machine.
Also, I think what I learned with Kindle, I really appreciate it for books that maybe beach reading or light reading or books that I wouldn't necessarily want to have on my bookshelves. It's, you know, because like if you were to see my apartment right now, like there's actually a joke I have with my friend, with all these books that I'll eventually like just have a path in my whole apartment of books. But like I have a small apartment, every single book I want to read, I can't necessarily have in my possession. That's what's so great about the digital world now, you know, that you can store it on a tablet. And I would definitely prefer to have a hard copy, but we have a book club and I'll have my mom have the hard copy and sometimes she doesn't get it done in time. So I'll be able to download the Kindle or the Apple book or whatever. So I mean, I get it. And it's good for writers to think about that because we tend to stay very analog.
Yeah.
But you have to think about how you're going to market your work digitally. And if you create a cover that's dynamic, like you're doing right now, it becomes the advertisement.
Right. Luckily, again, back to the Entrepreneur Social Club, I get to hang out with the brightest and smartest, you know, nerds in every category. And, you know, so me at 52, I can now hang out with the tech ladies and gents in their 40s and 30s and 20s and stay, you know, current on just how things have to roll. Plus traveling with Kindle, you can't take books, you know, if you travel with overnight, if a backpack and a international carry-on.
Yeah, I've taken less clothing to leave room for books because I tend to do literary travel and go to bookstores and seek out like that, you know, types of places when I travel. And so I need room for the books.
You have a favorite bookstore around the world? Somewhere that
my travel around the world has not been as much as I've really only been out of the country once recently to Paris because I was, you know, a poet and a mother and a single parent and creating an organization. So, but whenever I go to New York City, the first thing I do is I have to go to the Strand. As soon as I take the train into Union Square to walk to the Strand bookstore, and that's the first. I love House and Works bookstore. There's just so many. But there's little bookstores like Riverhead Books in South Haven, Michigan. Like they all have so much special character. And so I'm glad that we have more bookstores coming online here with Tom Below Book and Bottle, and there's Cultured Books, and we have Haslam's, because we lost Inkwood in Tampa, and that was really sad. And I remember I was watching an episode of Portlandia. There was an episode where they're a woman-owned bookstore, and you can't ever buy a book because they always have some issue with the customer. But there used to be a woman-owned all women's bookstore on 4th Street here.
Wow.
Like in 2000 time, I'm not sure. And it was all just, and I was like, oh my God, I completely forgot about that bookstore. Oh, and Wilson's, let's not forget Wilson's.
Yeah.
Got my entire poetry collection from Wilson's Book World. So what would be your, the writer advice you would give your younger self, just starting out?
Write more and do it as part of your daily routine. I started writing a book when I got out of graduate school, USF, in 1993. I kind of decoupled from thinking of geopolitical politics, and I got rid of the Wall Street Journal and, stopped reading all the news, and just, the news is almost all bad news, and it's continued to get worse.
Yeah.
And I started writing a book, which I have, somewhere, called The Illusion of Freedom. And it was just about me as a American, entrepreneur, a young entrepreneur, soon to be business guy, starting to run into all these regulations and red tape. And so just writing, just making it part of your day, just like, stretching every day, or eating good food every day, or reading a book every day, or being grateful every day, just part of a routine.
Do you have any writing quirks, like certain things that you need to be perfect to write? No,
I wrote all over. It's nice if you have a bigger screen. It's nice if you have a real keyboard. I'm pretty adaptable. I don't know, maybe just how I was raised, and, my parents used to ship us off to, summer camp for 3-4 weeks, and it's kind of like goodbye and, come back. So, no, not really.
Yeah, but that's cool to show, because a lot of writers we've talked to have their very specific ways of, routines to sit down and write. I know I have my routines, and but it's important to be adaptable, especially if you do want to travel, or an idea comes to you in the middle of the night when you're on top of a mountain, and then you think, I can't do this right now. This isn't my writing time, because we can put ourselves in this, the circumstances have to be perfect to be able to get the thoughts down. But if you are adaptable, you could write anywhere.
Right. It's limiting yourself. I think probably what really shook it out of me completely was training with Amir over at Amir's Academy, Amir Ardabili, because we did full contact kickboxing for a long time, about 20 years, and you never knew what he was going to get. You never knew what was going to happen. So you had to be ready, for anything. And that really just, it's like, you got time, you just do it now. You don't put constraints on yourself, because you never know when you're going to be called upon to get in the ring with the big monster dude, and it's going to crush you. And you just kind of have a blank, ready to go mind, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So what gets you unblocked? Like if you're needing inspiration?
I don't get blocked. I'm very impatient. So really it's just, if you're not flowing in something, like sitting down and typing or whatever, go out and swim, go run around, walk around, stretch, call your mom, do something that's completely different. Go cook yourself lunch or something, or, just that's completely different than what you're doing now, just to break the, that box. I don't ever get blocked. But, I do need an editor or two.
I know a couple. I'll mention it after this is over.
Yeah, I used Keith Long the first time. He was fantastic. And, he was in the Entrepreneur Social Club. I didn't know if Keith Long was going to flow with me, because we were very, he's very quiet. And I'm, especially hosting my club, I'm, Mr. doing splits and, being silly. I'm born on April Fools. So, I get a little wacky and, on the fun side. But he really, put my story together in a beautiful way. And so it would have never happened without him. So whoever, when people think they're editors, like I really understand now, like building a building, like you can't do it yourself,
And you want to find someone you match with. That's a good point, because
Yeah.
I know some people have, they've gotten matched with the wrong teachers. You could get matched with the wrong editors.
Right.
You get matched with the wrong therapists, and then you're like, it's me, I quit, I'm not doing this anymore. And it's like, you got to find the person that, you gel with.
And having the confidence to put your work out. I mean, it's never going to be perfect. And so you really having a deadline is really helpful. So I finally, July 31st, 2019, they had their very last KPI book launch. And so I decided, yes, I will be part of this and I'll get my book done after this 5-year process. And you're always going to find tweaks. You're always going to find issues and problems. But it's like having a baby. You have to set a time limit and let it out and then move on.
That's why you can have second editions. And then the first editions become very special.
Like when I spelled my grandfather's name wrong and my mom was reading it, she's like, called me up, Michael. I'm like, oh, shit. Well, here we go. She's going to get me because, it's a book about partying and stuff. So there's some F-bombs in there and, there's it's R-rated. There's nothing X-rated, but, it's your mom reading it. It's just like, you got grandpa's name wrong.
Well, at least your mom's reading it. I mean, that would,
Mom reads probably 3-4 books a week. She just digests them. So we're of that same vein.
That's wonderful. So what would be your holy grail piece of writing advice?
Of writing advice?
Yeah, your holy grail piece of writing advice.
You mean to just give to somebody else is like, hey, you want to be a writer? And
yeah, if somebody was to ask you, like, what's the one major tip you would give somebody?
Well, I guess it still goes back to you have to start writing. I mean, you just have to it's like, if you want to exercise, you literally have to start doing something. So you have to take action. So everything else can be and not give up. If you realize that it's a journey and you have to start. And so until you start it, the journey itself can't start. And if you are a good student and believe in continuous improvement, then things will be fine. But you have to start. So really it's as simple as taking that first step and then being a good student and believing in continuous improvement.
Yeah. And you also really show, like, write what write what interests you, especially like if you're doing nonfiction, you threw in some memoir stuff in there, but it's like, this is probably a book that you wish you had when you
Right.
starting all this. And if you have those tools as, an expert in your field, that's the benefit of having a book. And it's also, if you do speaking or you have a platform besides your business, I mean, as the Speaker Academy told me and the National Speakers Association, like, that you have a book to go with that. And when I first started out as a poet, I really thought I was going to be an inspirational speaker, and I was going to use my poetry to incorporate it. And that's why I went to the National Speakers Association. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I was looking at my books as part of my platform. It's like a business card. Yeah. So if you have like that, if you're a master at something, or even,
That's right.
really good at something, you don't have to necessarily be a master, not to scare anybody away, but you could write a book about it, and then you become, one of the experts in your field. And
that's right. And even if it's, I mean, I have friends that have written, what are they called, short reads now, like 50 pages and less.
Novellas.
Yeah, I almost know how to spell that.
Oh, yeah, you do.
But in fact, that's where I'm going with the next set of books, because people seemingly don't want to read big, long books anymore. Everybody likes, the Netflix is here. Your phone is a vending machine. So you're putting out, content under 50 pages that's $2 or $3.99. People are much more likely to digest that than one, 1,000-page book that's, $59.95.
That's interesting. And, it is a time to be innovative. Like, it depends on what type of writer you want to be, but, you're thinking about what your audience would want. And you're
Right.
kind of creating you know, I'm not saying a necessarily new formula, but a formula that's going to work for you and your audience. And,
Right.
you know,
Have
I
you
think
seen,
that's
have you,
cool. Yeah.
have you seen the poets on then some of the cool cities that are on the street with the typewriter?
Well, I
Like,
know what geo typos. Yeah.
yeah. And they say, all right, $10, give me a one line. And then, so it's really, all the way back to who did, wasn't Three Musketeers? And there's some other things done as a serial where,
Yeah.
it's bite size and it keeps the audience, like it's like a soap opera.
Well,
know,
that's
so
the
that
way that, you know, the major magazines used to do that. Vogue, all the major magazines, some of our, you know, famous writers in history were hired by these magazines to write serials and told
Yeah.
them, you know, their novel would be published over like a year-long period or whatever. Yeah, that's a cool idea. I think Vogue just brought it back. Lena Dunham, who did Girls, and is doing a choose your own adventure kind of idea where, you know, she ends it and then people can choose one of two things and then she'll continue on. And
Right.
yeah.
You could buy the ending. You could bid for the ending. You could say, hey, it's I don't know, $1,000 or whatever, and I'll write another chapter. I mean, you have fans that, especially when series end, you're
Yeah.
mad. You're like, what the, I don't, you're so invested that it's now allowing, you could say, all right, well, I'll write another chapter on this, the parallel world or whatever, or story with this character or in the scene, and
That's
so
entrepreneurial spirit going.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And there's actually online platforms for that too, where, you know, there's fan fiction, but there's also like romance platforms where you can submit your work and then they wait for the next one and they wait. And then it's subscription based. Like there's so many different options as a writer. And these are ways to be innovative, but also have extra money coming in. Some people are so successful on it that this is their major income besides, you know, selling books. And as an entrepreneur, if you are, you know, a master or, you know, really know your field, it's a way to grow your audience and bring people into your business. Like there's lots of different ways. So thank you. Yeah, this was something we hadn't really explored yet in Typewriter Talks, but it is like a whole form of writing that can be really useful for a lot of people. So let's hear some of your work.
Oh, okay. All right. So you see the cover on the screen already.
Yes.
All right. So I'll just read the first. It's 5 a.m. Go Home by Michael Scott Novella. Weddings, parties, and events so good, your guests won't leave. Hey, I'm globetrotting entrepreneur Michael Scott Novella, back home to St. Pete, Florida, after 416 days of traveling around the globe. Literally around the globe. So no, it's not flat. It has beautiful curves like my parents' DNA. Their DNA, blended with my own wide range of experiences, made me into the eccentric kind of guy I am today. From puffing my first terribly rolled J at age 11 to Kung Fu training with the Shaolin monks in the mountains of China, I find myself choosing those paths less traveled. Well, those paths converged on a sidewalk in 2005 with me standing in front of a turn-of-the-century structure in then not so beautiful downtown St. Petersburg. A dog kennel with a for sale sign in the window. Truthfully and literally, it was a shithole. I walked away at first thinking it was too crazy even for me. Later, I thought about the fact that my hometown lacked a quality venue where folks could gather to cultivate friendships and celebrate important milestones in their lives. I gathered up my savings and borrowed the rest. Total investment was $3 million. Wow. And jumped headfirst into a unique vision of what this building was destined to become. A wonderful place for our community to gather and throw epic parties. I purchased the building, and after 3 years of renovations, it turned out the old dog kennel still had some bite. She was built with rare red clay tile and had a footprint that today makes it unique in its new incarnation as a 5-star wedding and event space. Since its debut, it's been recognized many times, including Best Swanky Event Space, Best Holiday Party, Best Place to Get Married, and one of America's 65 highest rated rated wedding venues. It also won Best Blank Canvas, not to mention the honor of having one of the top 10 best restrooms in the United States. Today, that building, Nova 535, is the #1 rated venue in St. Pete, Clearwater, and Tampa, known collectively to us as Tampa Bay. We throw parties that are so good, our guests won't leave. So I'm inviting everyone to check out my wild and crazy story. It's 5 a.m., go home. It's a story of how traveling along my own unique path has led me to create something even more beautiful than just a new building. It's a way of thinking that I've come to call the Nova Way. It's been a wild, entertaining journey of discovery and continuous improvement for me and the team around me. Reading this book takes you along with me on the Nova Way, a path filled with wisdom and discovery, suffering and enlightenment, and it's never, ever boring. We will laugh and cry together, and when you're finished reading it too, you will be able to produce your own 5-star wedding and event experiences.
Wow, that's quite an order. That's quite a promise. My goodness.
It is. It works.
That building is beautiful. It's such a gorgeous space.
It wasn't when we bought it.
Yeah. Well, I love the way you described it, because I'm so visual.
Well, it's literally dogs barking, literal poop everywhere. I mean, it was disgusting. But
what did you see in the building?
When I was a child and, hyperactive, you get the spanking and then you get put in your room for 1, 2, 3 weeks, a month, whatever. And so there was no video games allowed, no radio, no TV, no friends. So I'd sit in my room, I'd read, and I'd rearrange the furniture. And I got really good at redesigning space in my brain. So I started the apartment community, Crescent Lake Apartments I talked about, and renovated, bottle building old houses and apartments, and renovated those, 100 of them, kitchens and bathrooms and living rooms and, lighting and everything and landscaping and so forth. And so I had this Jones to renovate, and traveling, I ran across lounges. I'm like, I like swanky lounges, but I don't want to own a bar. I'm like, I really like art galleries, but most of them are boring. I'm like, how do I take art gallery and lounge and combine it into an event space? So I was out looking for a building that, had good bones, and this was one of them. You could see the building itself, but inside it had, drop ceilings and bad decisions. So just having the kind of the kooky mind where that's your talent is to, remove 80 years of bad decisions. And then, because it was a 5 and dime store in 1920. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have like the history of the building in Nova, like a whole, to let people know what used to be there?
Yeah, I mentioned it a few times.
That's where my brain goes. I'm like, I want to read the history. Well, yeah. Michael, thank you so much. You have given us a new perspective as a writer, especially those people that want to write nonfiction, and we appreciate you. And if you need an event space, Nova 535. Right now we're in COVID, so it's a bit tricky, but
we're open. You can book us up to 178 people inside, so we're good.
Now you might be watching this going like, I need a wedding venue. So, yay! All right, thank you so much for joining episode 20 of Typewriter Talks. We'll be back here next Tuesday, and if you want to know more about Keep St. Pete Lit, you can go to keepstpetelit.org. We have book clubs, we have poetry open mics, we have online classes, we have writers meetups, all kinds of things. And we also have a Facebook group where you can join if you are a writer to keep in touch with your peeps. So thank you again, Mike. And everyone please have a great week and read and write on.